Welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at initiation into the ancient mysteries. Do you know that in ancient times there was a war in heaven? And if we think of the ancient axioms, what's equal unto the heavens is equal unto earth, as above so below. So remember, this war that was in heaven affected every single soul on this planet. It affected you in your past lives, it's affected you right up until the now. So let us take a look at understanding what initiations are as we look at this. So we have people that are clairvoyant, people that are clairaudient, people that are seers, people that are mediums, people that are channels, and initiates. So when we talk about a clairvoyant, or people that can see, so what is happening is they are receiving visions, either subjectively or objectively. So you're seeing a vision in your head like you're dreaming. So these visions are unfolding, or you're seeing it outside of yourself. So there is these variations. So when we talk of initiation, we're talking about something very, very different. It's not a simple vision. It's an experience that one has, almost as if you could say an out-of-body experience, but not necessarily an out-of-body experience. Even an out-of-body experience wouldn't necessarily be an initiation. Initiation is when your soul steps through a portal into another reality in the Akashic records, for example. So we know that Akashic records is a true recording of exactly what happened, what people were thinking. Every single moment is recorded in the ethers, for all eternity, for all to see. So whether you can tap into it now, or when you enter the afterlife, you can review your life, you can go back in time and look at any point in history, who said what exactly happened. So when we look at a true initiation, for an example, you would normally receive a vision first that you would be receiving an initiation at some point. So, for example, looking at this war in heaven, so if you can think of extraterrestrials or alien beings from other dimensions, those that are involved with watching over our planet and the destiny of humanity, and there was some kind of a disagreement as to how humanity would evolve, and somehow in the heavens there was a war. So if you can imagine spaceships shooting one another. I'm going to go into this in absolute detail in a later post, and some of these other interesting points. So please subscribe so that you can find them when they do come up. So this war in heaven, there were certain groups that were involved with humanity's progression or evolution and how it would unfold at certain stages. So a certain group of extraterrestrials decided that they would enforce what they wanted on humanity, and at that moment the world changed for everyone. It even changed for us now, and it still is changed. So long ago, there were ceremonies that were taking place all around the ancient world. The Mayans were practicing ceremonies on top of their pyramids, in their pyramids, in caves, underground, in chambers. The Egyptians were doing it in the sarcophagi. Jesus Christ was an initiate of the ancient mysteries. Where was he initiated? Well, he was initiated in Egypt and in India, amongst places. So when we look at an initiation, it is a real experience that unfolded at time, and we can actually view this in real time from different angles depending on how it's taking place. So all around the world, under totem poles, in teepees, in kivas, everywhere in the world, people were partaking in religious ceremonies that would awaken their third eye to allow them to see. But for those that were more involved in the priesthoods of ancient times, or those spiritual cultures, they would go through further tests and trials to ready themselves for what we call an initiation. So in other words, if a candidate was ready, the masters would initiate, or the ancient beings would initiate this person, and you would have an out-of-body experience going into those times, seeing exactly what is unfolding. So this war in heaven stopped all ancient ceremonies that were taking place around the planet. So from ayahuasca ceremonies that were taking place in South America right up until Mexico with the Maya and the ancient Aztec, all the way through North America, and what was taking place in India, where rituals involved partaking of a certain nectar of the gods, call it the Soma. So in Christianity we would call it Holy Communion. So imagine you go to a temple and you partake in Holy Communion. You take a sip of something that was designed by the ancient priesthood, that was given to them by the ancients. So this small tot of Holy Communion would immediately open the third eye, depending on how it was formulated. And then the candidate would be initiated. And after that experience, you would be changed forever. You would know things that no other person knows. And so it would be a life-changing moment. Many initiations lead to enlightenment. Enlightenment is an initiation. So an initiation would be maybe a shorter version of enlightenment, but pretty much the same process, where enlightenment would be the fuller process, the whole process of understanding and self-realizing and awakening. So in an initiation, for example, this one, all around the planet, as I said, there were these strange ceremonies and rituals taking place, and people knew the truth. They knew what their gods looked like. They knew how to get through the matrix. They knew how to communicate with those deceased that had passed on. So there was no fear of life and death, because they could still communicate. The veil between this world and the next drew absolutely thin, and it was a common practice in every single country. The gods made sure of that there was light on the planet that people would see. And as I said, there was a war. These spaceships annihilated the other spaceships. They destroyed some of the beings. In other words, how they destroyed them after locking them up in jails that had, not iron bars that keep you in, but lasers. So you were sitting behind in a room with laser beams. And what they did is they took these lasers from weapons and incinerators, and they incinerated these beings that wanted to bring light, wisdom and knowledge to our planet long, long ago, or that were bringing it to our planet, and still actually now continually try bring this wisdom through to initiates or to people that are receptive on the planet. So from that moment, all around the world, darkness spread over the planet of the earth. There were no more ceremonies. And what happened? Christianity at some point was written into law. But this war, we must know, happened long before this. And the effects of it is what we saw when Christianity was written into law. And what happened with the one stroke of a pen? Well, firstly, we had people being slaughtered all the way through Europe. All the temples of dragons and serpents were burned to the ground. People were jailed. People were persecuted. All these kinds of evil atrocities flooded the planet, and people moved into a state of ignorance where the narrative was controlled by religion and the power or the government forces at that time, and still now. So this war in heaven was a very big thing. As you can see, it's affected our consciousness. It's affected the way we've evolved. Could humanity have been much further? Could we have already been in the space age? Maybe not. Maybe they slowed things down for us to enter it now perfectly as we are. So we need to realize that these things did happen on the planet in ancient times, and they stopped all these initiations. So what are these initiations? So if we look at what the Maya did in ancient times, they took their ceremonies to the next level. Ceremonies was the center of their culture. Spirituality, religion, everything revolved around communicating with the gods, to be like the gods, to simulate them, to get this knowledge, this wisdom from the gods. It wasn't that we just evolved from Neanderthals and all of a sudden the beings genetically altered us and we knew things. They gave us this knowledge. They gave us the plant wisdom. It wasn't the plants that were speaking to us, as some of the tribes say. It was the ancient beings that gave us this wisdom to use. So with this darkness flooding the planet, man became ignorant, and as I spoke before in a previous post, the Master said they will bring this knowledge to earth once more, but religion and governments need to free the souls of men. So this is where we are at the moment. We're in that process of letting go of the old world, the Piscean age, and entering now the information age or the space age. And as I said before, it's going to take about 250 years plus minus for us to actually enter the Aquarian age. So the old age hasn't died yet. I'm going to post about this. It's quite exciting. It's original. So please, as I said, subscribe so that you don't miss out. So these initiations are there to change you as a person, to change you as a soul. It's almost a sense of alchemy that takes place within your consciousness, within your soul, within your higher body. And once it's taken place, how could you ever be the same, knowing what you know, seeing what you see? So the future of man, also having a look, really reads like a sci-fi. Religion should actually be a sci-fi in nature, not something full of rules and regulations. It should be there to teach us there is God, there you are, and there is the connection between you and God. Where is this ladder? Where is this bridge? Where is this rope? How can we pierce this veil to meet our Maker, or to meet these higher beings that created us? So this was really the purpose, so that we would understand our own nature and in that evolve spiritually as it was meant to be. So understanding this gives us a better insight into initiations, what they did in the Egyptian pyramids. So if you think of those huge sarcophagi that are found all within the ancient pyramids, do you really think they would have built these just to bury someone in it? It was used specifically for initiation by those that were ready to receive these blessings from the spirit realm. And why I say blessings, because without those in the higher worlds, without the gods, without the Naga, without the angels, without the higher beings, without the aliens, there would be no initiation at all. Humanity would still be in a state of darkness. So we need to be humble also when it comes to this. It's not something, not everyone can just simply read the Akashic records, because that is an absolute game changer on its own. The amount of power a person would have to tap into limitless knowledge at any time. So these initiations were really to open up one's spiritual understanding, for you to see that there is no such thing as life and death, and to know the truth of who we really are and what we are going to evolve into. As the saying also goes, when the student is ready, the master will appear. So those candidates that auras had changed, those that studied, those that ceremonied on a regular basis, those that were ready and proved themselves, were allowed to go through these initiations. And all these ancient temples were designed specifically for this. So at some point in humanity's existence, thousands of years ago, this was after Atlantis, some of these ancient beings lived amongst humanity. This is where the pyramids in Egypt came from. This is where the Maya started their construction under the guidance of these wise ones. So when it comes to meditating and seeing visions and that, it's essentially important that we have a journal, that we write all those visions that we see in the journal, because receiving them at first may not make sense. But if you continue, as the years go by, it's like a piece of puzzle that starts to fit into place. Each initiation making up the whole of what humanity has went through, or even beings on other planets went through. So, and trying to understand what this really is, why God created us, where we're actually going. So we're not going to go sit in a church with our suit and ties and feel uncomfortable. We want a connection between ourselves and God. There's no need to have a priest standing between man and God. Don't let your power be taken away. Free yourself. Five beings are really the ancient ones that allow us to tap into these streams in the Akashic records or in the ethers, where this knowledge is stored. So when we talk of an initiation, imagine you are seeing things and the next minute you are out of your body and you are experiencing that as if you are in it. So this also brings me to the subject of portals, the red path portal. So these wormholes, these portals, there is such things. So when you look at a portal, this connects you to a time and place, or you can be flying through a portal while observing things all around you. So the way the ancients do it is once you're ready, they pull you out of your body. And if you can imagine a roller coaster with loops in it. So it is moving in all directions, looping all over this room hundreds of times. So you are now flying through this roller coaster portal made of light at exceptionally fast speed, and it's exceptionally fast. So as you reach one of the loops, as you become aware of that, you're already shooting around, hitting the next loop. It's exceptionally fast. While you're in this matrix of this portal, you can see scenes in the light of things that Spirit is showing you or initiating you into. Or the portal will take you to a destination in time and space, normally to the past or to the future, and allowing you to not only be there, but to experience this for yourself. In other words, opening the mind, flooding it with light, and removing all that darkness and giving you this knowledge that will change you literally forever. There are many kinds of initiations. You get major initiations and minor initiations. Initiations are happening, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but often we have initiations in our daily life when we go through certain points as we change. But more importantly, spiritually, is the initiations we are after, where we're taken into these realities and we are initiated. And once initiated, we become part of that reality. We become a knower of certain things. So in ancient times, we always read about the ancient philosophers and the initiates of old, and they existed, but then at some point it all came to an end. And we can see even in Greece in ancient times, you had Mount Olympus and you had Greece, the spacecraft, Mount Olympus, overshadowing Greece, and in a short space of time, Greece became the center of learning in the world. And at that period of time, they were still initiating people through using sacred plants or other techniques, even cosmic energy, to allow this experience to take place. So if we put a time on it, you can see it's not long after the ancient Greek mysteries that things started to fall apart. From the Roman Empire onwards. So it really is the higher beings, the ancient beings, that plug us into this, allow us to experience this knowledge, and without them we would truly be in the dark.